You've likely heard all about video games with bad voice acting. Practically every article and YouTube video that covers it will always mention the first Resident Evil, House of the Dead 2, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, though with that one they only ever seem to cover the infamous "Let's me do that one again" outtake Bethesda forgot to edit out, and so on. You know, the usual cookie cutter topics. The thing is, there are so many more games out there that have awful voice acting in them, and yet not enough people seem to talk about them. So, this episode, we cover these pathetic performances, these dreadful dialogues, and these vacuous voiceovers. As I say, but hello you. I'm Guru Larry, and I welcome you to Fact Hunt. Video games with awful voice acting that you haven't heard of before. Yeah.
No!
Not all games with bad voice acting are bad titles in their own right. Case in point, Siphon Filter 2 for the PlayStation. Developed by Eidetic, now known today as Bend Studios, and released in the new millennium, the game delivered a fun blend of action and stealth-centric missions, a cracking split-screen multiplayer mode, and a pretty fun plot with conspiracy and betrayal. At the time, most critics showered the game with praise, though many of them didn't really enjoy the voice acting. Siphon Filter's protagonist, Gabe Logan, often sounded quite jarring and overly enthusiastic, despite the situations he often finds himself in.
Chance, I've been looking all over for you. You got the transponder locator? Clear!
Kick ass!
Stand your ground. I'm gonna scout ahead.
All of them, they were just doing their job. Do they deserve to die? I'm just doing what I was trained to do.
Yeah? So am I. Enough of this. Get that out of my face.
Ever heard of a protagonist that sounds enthusiastic at the mere thought of speaking aloud? Well, now you have. And if you thought that was bad, here are some more cringe-inducing moments for you to laugh at.
The SVR is not under my control any more than Romer's terrorist war.
Success is everything, is it not, Mr. Cochran?
Leon, you escaped. Thank God.
That is impossible. Miss Aramoth has taken care of Gregorov.
There are also quite a number of unused clips of dialogue from the game as well. And once you hear these cut lines, you'll agree that perhaps leaving them off the game was for the best.
No. Teresa, I just lost my ride.
Hey you! What are you doing over there? Stop!
Damn it.
Not all of the performances in Siphon Filter 2 are bad, mind you. Still, whether it's Gabe Logan reacting to a failed mission like it's a minor inconvenience, or big bad villains sounding too hammy to be taken seriously, there are still plenty of laughs to be had in this otherwise serious shooter. Yes, we all know how influential the Resident Evil series has been to the survival horror genre in general. And yes, we already know that the first game is riddled with unintentionally hilarious cutscenes and terrible dialogue. I mean, who hasn't heard the infamous Jill sandwich scene anyway?
Oh, Barry!
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
But here's a shocker. Did you know that there are other games in this series that have bad voice acting too? I know, right? Shocker! In all seriousness, we're going to be focusing on the 2004 spin-off Resident Evil Outbreak and its 2005 sequel Resident Evil Outbreak File 2, both of which have a cult following. Both games are made up of standalone missions that are loosely connected together by the zombie outbreak in Raccoon City, thereby running in parallel with the events of Resident Evil 2 and 3. What made them unique was they offered an online co-op mode. Well, as long as you weren't in the PAL region anyway. But Resident Evil Outbreak, in particular, was the first in the series to do so. Once you pick one of 8 random survivors, each with their own special abilities and unique stats, you set off to scrounge weapons, rush to the exit, and pray you don't become a zombie yourself in the process. Admittedly, some of the dialogue in the first game sounded a bit irksome at times. Though there are some decent enough performances, you can expect some rather crap deliveries of lines. This is especially true in the cutscenes.
What are you doing?
Now the whole city is burning. You were lucky.
I earned it.
We've been patrolling the city, trying to help those in need, but it's worse than a war zone.
My final contribution.
The sequel, Resident Evil Outbreak File 2, introduced new levels, upgraded mechanics, and more. It also carried over a feature from the first game, the ability to play as NPCs that you meet across both games. They function similarly to the main cast, e.g. a Kevin-type playable NPC would shout Kevin's voice lines, but would have different stats and even new items to start off with. They were even given unique voices for the sequel, but they're not all that great. The George-type NPC voice seems like he's muttering in his sleep.
As a doctor, I must always be at a certain level of preparedness for dealing with such circumstances.
While the Mark-type NPC voice sounds like a combination of a croon and a burp.
If I make it out of this alive, I suppose I don't have any excuses to put off that physical now.
Did they pull in random people from Capcom's cleanup team to record these lines, or something? I mean, sure, these games are not quite on par with the first ever Resident Evil in terms of atrocious acting, but there's no denying that some of these performances from Resident Evil Outbreak and File 2 were utter pants. In fact, an actual zombie could probably act better than these numpties. Yeah, this one's a bit of a cheat, because it's not voice acting per se, but on-camera acting. Say hello to the first build engine game commercially released, William Shatner's Tech War. Developed by Capstone Software and released in 1995. You know those other great games that were built in this same game engine, like Duke Nukem 3D, Blood and Iron Fury? Yeah, well, this first-person shooter is nowhere near as good. Based on the titular actor's ghost-written book series, which was turned into a forgettable TV show in the 90s, you play as an undercover cop tasked with taking out futuristic drug peddlers in numerous urban locations. Meanwhile, hordes of henchmen try to stop you. Unlike every other FPS on the market back then, taking the time to kill these grunts is a bad thing. You'll see one of 4 possible FMV cutscenes on each level, depending on if you kill the Yeklors before they escape or not, and whether or not you kill any of the bad guys on the way. And boy, are they a fun watch.
Quick, I'm uptown, and I just saw Marty Dollar. Get down here and help me bring him in. What is it with you? You want to end up back in the icebox? So what if nobody got killed? If you're not bringing in the bad guys, you may as well be staking out the donut shop. Any rookie could have brought in Connor. You didn't hurt any civilians, but you didn't make any arrests either. I can get those same results just sitting in my office. Bring me Connor!
Shatner will either attempt to feign pride and joy, or scold the player like an underpaid substitute teacher who can't stop a naughty student, depending on how you handle missions.
You may have taken down DeMarco, but you also got a lot of innocent civilians hurt in the process. You know, the ones you're supposed to protect? Marty Dollar is out of the way, but couldn't you have been more careful? The body count keeps rising, and it's harder and harder to justify it. We're not the killers. They are. Try to remember that. What do you think you're doing? Not only did you let him get away, but you needlessly got people killed. How do you expect me to keep you out of the freezer if you run around blasting everything in sight? Do it right, or it's back to the cryo for you, and I can guarantee a little additional time to cool your gun hand.
Of course, none of this actually affects the gameplay in any way, and there's no punishment for being a mass murderer either. But that doesn't stop old Bill here from yelling at you if you do something as simple as quit a level.
What can I say? You blew it. If the need weren't so great, I'd have you on the next flight back to the freezer. But at least you didn't get any civilians killed. Now get out there and do it right.
Maybe he just wants someone else to keep him company. It's no wonder he doesn't want you to stop playing. He won't have anyone else to speak to.
I knew you were right for the job. We've made a pretty good team.
Unsurprisingly, William Shatner's Tech War was not well received on release, and you'd be lucky to get Shatner to even acknowledge the existence of this game. Capstone may not have promised the pinnacle of entertainment software, as they so proudly boasted as their company slogan at the time, but at least there's entertainment galore to be had watching a Star Trek actor badly act in cutscenes with rubbish dialogue. Back in the late 2000s, Danish developers IO Interactive had a marvel on their hands, and its name was Hitman, codename 47. The adventures of a bald-headed clone assassinating high-profile targets by stealing disguises and infiltrating dangerous locations bowled over a lot of critics and fans at the time. Its visuals were incredibly detailed, the soundtrack was befittingly moody, and it even introduced ragdoll physics to the gaming world. Alas, it has not aged very well. The lack of a save feature is frustrating, the gameplay is often relentlessly difficult, and the voice acting, it's not nearly as good as what you'll hear in the later entries in the series. And of course, we can't skip over this infamous line.
I need to use the bathroom.
Yes, that was indeed 47's voice actor, David Bateson. Back then, he was a young, up-and-coming voice actor who was picking up voice acting gigs to pay the bills, not knowing he would be voicing a protagonist who would eventually become one of the most iconic video game characters in history. For more than 20 years, he's returned to reprise his role, delivering performances that just keep getting better and better. So hearing such an iconic character spout awkward dialogue like this is pretty jarring.
Columbia. From what I heard, even the butterflies are corrupt. I have this guy watching my car out front. How about treating him to a good time on my account? This place seems quiet. Where do I go for some action?
You could try the second floor. I'm sure you will find what you need there, sir.
The NPCs have some truly cringy lines as well. The game is set in numerous locations around the globe, and that means a lot of borderline offensive impersonations of Chinese triads, Colombian cartel members, and the like.
Why, certainly, sir. Let me just get the key. So there you are. Let me just take your weapons.
Hola, Hancho. Say hello to my little friend.
Go clean some rooms. I gave you the master key, you lazy sod.
You've probably seen kids' nativity plays with more convincing performances. And to think, before Bateson donned the role, 47 was going to have a much different voice. This original voice was present in the demo version of the game, but was thankfully replaced for the full release.
You'll be running out of breath shortly. Here, kitty. Easy now. This is one species the rainforest is better off without.
Thank goodness they didn't portray him as a wannabe badass who spouts awful one-liners. Eh? He's a bald-headed assassin, not Duke Nukem. Still, IO did learn to embrace the campiness of the first game with a silly Easter egg in Hitman 2016.
I need to use the bathroom.
It never gets old. What? You've never heard of The Sniper 2? Then count yourself lucky, because it's shit! This obscure budget title was developed by Best Media and released in Japan in 2002, before being released in Europe a year later. As the title suggests, you're a sniper, and that's probably the only understandable aspect about this game. Really. The plot is a confusing mess involving a mysterious hitchhiker, a mafia syndicate, and some conspiracy going on with the CIA. Its gameplay is mind-meltingly simple and looks like a title you find in one of those old PlayStation demo discs. But worst of all is the voice acting. Good God, is it atrocious!
Oh man, the Mafia are coming this way. You don't take him out quick, she's gonna get shot.
He's small fry, but he's betrayed even the organization and is trying to spread as much tackle McCann as he can.
These are just a few examples of the god-awful voice lines that can be heard at the beginning of each stage. Your guess is as good as mine if this constitutes as acting rather than just reading aloud into a microphone. And we can't skip out on the cutscenes though. Those are a real treasure trove of stupidity.
Harry? What's up?
Huh? Oh, that guy. The one Stanley bumped into back there.
Harry!
Don't blame your own stupidity on me. What are you doing? Get out of the way! Stop! Right there!
All the characters are barely attempting to sound convincing here. But then again, what do you expect from a game that was funded by pennies found underneath sofa cushions? The Sniper 2 is also home to what may be the funniest death scene in gaming history.
Stanley, you okay?
Hey, boss. I don't think...
Don't talk. Save your strength.
I won't need my strength much longer.
Yes, mate. Please don't talk. At all. Just hurry up and die so we don't have to listen to your attempt at drama anymore. Then again, the soundtrack for the game is so badly mixed that half the time you'll barely be able to hear what people are even saying with these pianos and horns blaring aloud. But maybe that's just a blessing in disguise. Without a doubt, the Sniper 2 has to be some of the most unconvincing, eye-rolling and downright hilarious voice acting ever heard in any video game ever. If you're ever feeling down or blue, just remind yourself that you didn't voice act in this one. You're sure to feel significantly better. Hello you. Thanks ever so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to be first to see future Fact Hunt episodes. Click on the bell if you already are to make sure you're notified, and be sure to check out my other episodes. And if you want to be super awesome, check out my Patreon. But thanks again for watching, and until next time friends, I'm missing you already.